and community in Web3 gaming.
Everyone. Day one of YGG Play Summit. We're back here again. For me, this is my many years now, like third year.
Wow, wow.
Yeah, how do you feel being back here?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's been awesome to see it grow from year over year. That's my favorite part about it.
This is your second year?
Second year. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, so this session we're diving into, the cultural hub of gaming, and so excited to see all the stuff that you guys have been doing this year. Maybe you can go a little bit more into, introduce yourself first.
Yeah. For those who don't know me, I'm Oliver. I lead business development and partnerships over at OpenSea. Once was the NFT marketplace. Now we're kind of the marketplace for everything. We view ourselves as a little bit more synonymous with crypto and culture within the crypto space. And I think in general, Web3 gaming is a big piece of that puzzle.
I think there's so many things that happen in the past few years where we can dive into like how you see the shift from the early days of OpenSea to what it is now.
Yeah, we had a huge boom, obviously, 2020, 2021. And as obviously the ebbs and flows of crypto, there's definitely I guess you could call it a bear market. And we went heads down. We've kind of rebuilt the product. We've hired a bunch of new people. And we've really gone into this phase of passion-based product building. And so OpenSea has now started doing token trading, so you can trade tokens on an OpenSea. You can also obviously buy, sell, and trade your NFTs. But we've kind of grown and evolved over time. We've seen all the different waves that have come and gone. We've helped a lot of different people in a lot of different initiatives. One of them being Web3 gaming. I think we bring a lot of people together. We've realized that we're kind of a cultural hub of sorts for crypto. And so that's been really the brand's mission over the last, call it, year and a half, 2 years.
A year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
So what made you decide on tackling, getting into this vertical more than what OpenSea was originally focused on?
Well, I think it was always a pillar. Like our CEO and founder knew Jiho from way back in the day. They have a Discord chat from 2017 or 2018 in the CryptoKitties community. And so he's always believed in gaming. Gaming's always been one of the most tangible use cases in Web3, just period. Crypto across the board, it just makes sense. And when you explain it to outsiders, a lot of times it makes sense for them too. It's one of the only ones that I think are easy to kind of understand and explain to other people. And so I think it's always been a pillar, but we've elevated the focus. We started doing streaming, worked with folks like WolvesDAO. Mongrel is now a very large Fortnite streamer that works with us. We stream games with him. And so streaming and then bringing in games like Parallel, Off the Grid, other games like that into the ecosystem, bringing, our thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of viewers and site visitors over to showcase kind of what these games are doing and why it's different is really powerful. And I think it's always been a part of the mission, but it's just been more of a focus over the last couple of years.
This year, though, there's been so many things that you've done, like the Vegas thing.
Yeah. We did the Parallel World Championships in Vegas. We just got back from doing one with Bored Ape Yacht Club and their Other Side game.
How was it?
It was great. The community was really, really impressive. Everybody loved kind of the games that were being displayed. I think there's a level of excitement in communities in this space right now because the games that people wanted 3, 4, 5 years ago are starting to show some signs of validity. I think some signs of actual playable versions of them. And I think that there's some maturity that's gone on over the last year. You look at Off the Grid having guys like Ninja streaming the game and playing it and talking about Web3 elements, that just wouldn't have happened 2 or 3 years ago. And so I think we've made a lot of strides, even though we may not be where everybody wants it to be. I think we've made a lot of strides.
Going back a little bit, because from the States, the experience, the expectations of the community or players, much different than
Very different.
from Asia. And now you're in Manila. So maybe you can share more on like how you see it?
This side of the world is, it seems like the adoption has happened. People understand it to a degree. People are open to it. They're receptive. And I think in the US, it's a very tough nut to crack. Obviously, you have the news that is out there, and the media and the way that they portray crypto is very different, I think, from out here. And so I think that's a lot of where it stems from. When you see streamers in the US talk negatively about crypto, right? That impacts the viewers that are watching it. That impacts everybody down, that trickles down from that. And so I think here you've seen some reception and some openness to things that you haven't necessarily seen in the US. And so for us, a guy like Mongrel is super important to getting that adoption to the next level, showing people that it's not just, oh, crypto scam X or crypto scam Y. Here's a game that's actually building something, and I can own the skin, and it costs a few dollars, and then maybe a week later I can sell that skin and buy another one. And so I think it really comes down to the grassroots narrative that you bring to the table, and it's working with creators, it's working with communities like Wolves DAO and other folks like that to drive that narrative forward in the way that you want to.
When you, I guess when you shift the focus to Web3 gaming and you start approaching content creators and to get them to, I guess, explain to their communities, their fan base and so on, I guess there's been like phases, right?
Yeah.
Of communication because the product also have shifted a little bit.
It's evolved, yeah. And I would just say, generally speaking, it is hard to find content creators to work with crypto because there's been a lot of burned bridges. And that's not obviously on us, but it's our job, in my opinion, to make it more acceptable, to make it accepting for people out there. And so getting a guy, as I referenced before, like a Mongrel or other folks like that, to actually play crypto and Web3 games, talk about why they're important or why they matter, is a very big piece of that puzzle. And I think it started about a year ago. I give Off the Grid a lot of credit. People look at the game, it's a great game. They've done a tremendous job, in my opinion, of developing it and building it over time. And they got guys like a Tim the Tatman or a Ninja or a Scump to have skins in the game for their fans to buy them, for their fans to want to be a part of it and see kind of how it all operates. That to me is like the unlock. And we saw it happening. Obviously, they didn't have the token live. There were some other pieces to the puzzle that I think could have been done better. People will point to all the different things that could have been done better. But I think in general, what they did was they opened a lot of people's eyes to what this could become. And you had people, for the first time ever, streaming and talking about openly, oh, it's just like CSGO, but you get to own the item and you can sell it wherever you want. And that, it clicks in those people's brains. It clicks in the fans' brains. And I think that is like the next iteration of where we need to go, is to get it normalized. And I think Off the Grid did a great job. Maple Story is another great example. Even folks like Parallel from 2 or 3 years ago, getting folks like Ali and world champion Hearthstone players into their ecosystem, talking about it openly and saying, hey, this isn't bad. Like, I like the game, I like the format, and the fact that I can own the cards digitally and sell them. Like, this makes so much sense. And so the more people you get to talk about it in that way and not negative, that's what's going to drive this next iteration forward of what Web3 gaming is.
And the experience of them like trying out OpenSea now in this current version, like how has it been?
Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of partners now, like Off the Grid. We integrated their guns chain. I think there's been over 1 million guns transacted on OpenSea, so people can seamlessly buy and sell their skins on OpenSea. We work with folks like Parallel, where you can use your in-game currency, your Prime token that you earn in the game or you've gotten for something or another, and you can actually use it on OpenSea to buy any NFT on the marketplace. And so it's really cool to see the iteration of what our platform has become and how games are leveraging it as a utility for players to come in and be like, well, maybe I want to use my Prime on some of the parallel cards, or maybe I want to use my Prime on a pudgy penguin. It's a really cool synergy to see, and I think that's the steps we need to take to get crypto adoption to the next level. You basically have to abstract all the chains, the currencies, the tokens, and it has to all be very seamless and easy to understand. And so if I am a Pudgy Penguins holder and I have Pengu, I should be able to buy my Lowland item with one click on OpenSea. And you can do that. You can also do that with the Parallels Prime token, and you can buy their cards, or I could go and buy an off-the-grid skin with Prime. And so to me, that's where we're going. That's the narrative. And I think it's a really strong one when you consider what people need in this space, especially games. You need liquidity to make sure that people who are buying and selling these things actually have a place to do that. And then you also need the visibility of what OpenSea brings to the table and the ability to kind of bring a bunch of different cultural kind of entities together into one place. And I just can't name that many platforms out there that do that very well, from an NFT and a token side, and bring it all into one.
That's a good point, because what I wanted to discuss next is because we tap into like the early days of OpenSea where NFT was the main focus.
Yeah.
And you see the shift. You see now, I mean, especially this year, again, a shift. So how do you reflect on that, like, and how it's becoming, or how you're navigating the direction a little bit into like users with different expectations, people that are not sure about the market,
Yeah.
Projects need to secure certain partnerships for like distributions, awareness, and whatnot.
We take it in stride. I mean, it's really hard, candidly. I mean, I have thousands of projects in my messages asking me, hey, can we do this? Can we do that? And so you do have to kind of pick and choose to a degree on some of the larger partnership and scale of opportunity there. But inside that, like how we build the product is very focused on the users that we want to bring in. We consider them like degen light is what I would call it, right? The people who have maybe $50 in crypto somewhere, but really don't know maybe the next step to what they could do.
Yeah.
That's the like target core audience of maybe what OpenSea is targeting and looking at. And I think really what we want to try and prescribe to as a company and as a culture is to be able to say, hey, you can take your tokens and buy this, you can take your tokens and buy X, you can go and sell your NFT and then use your tokens to swap to another token. And I think all of that needs to be done very, very easily. And so we've actually built out the product where, if you're a Parallel, if you're a Pudgy, if you're off the grid, if you're Lowland, you can actually go to the page today. I showed you the Lowland one. Gabby and their team has built out their own custom page. It drives, there's website links, things like that you can learn from.
Very
and so
seamless.
we leverage these opportunities because we believe that it's actually important people know what these are so that they can understand what they want to be a part of or what they want to buy. And I think that whole infrastructure layer and the way it's set up is really, really compelling for a lot of people. And so if I'm a game, I'm going to OpenSea, I'm creating my collection page, I'm adding my website link, I'm showing them what the gameplay looks like. You can upload your own videos, you can upload your own images. And so that narrative and storytelling thing is the differentiator between OpenSea and a lot of places. And I think it's something that, I liken to a Steam or an Epic Games to a degree. Like you go to Epic Games and you want to learn about a game, you can see that, right? Games GG is the best Web3 example of this, where I can search any game and I can say, okay, here's the review, here's what it's like. The same thing applies for OpenSea. We're a place where people can learn, understand, and then decide what they want to buy, sell, swap, trade in any way possible. And we want to make that as easy as possible.
So what's next then for OpenSea? You actually mentioned this a little bit, so.
Yeah, we have a mobile app coming out. We're really excited about that. We do believe that mobile, like a lot of gaming studios, you're seeing a lot of folks enter the mobile space. We believe mobile is the next step to kind of bringing more people in and helping them understand this ideology of NFTs and tokens all in one place. And I think what you'll see from us is we're gonna make it as easy to enter as we possibly can make it for any individual user. And we believe that a living, breathing, cultural hub of games, of NFTs, of tokens, of meme coins is a very, very compelling narrative for everybody to rally behind and get behind. And I think it will be a very, very big moment for our space, for games, for other folks, because they can now seamlessly onboard more people to their games or their ecosystems, learning about their games or their ecosystems. And I think that'll be a big step forward. Outside of that, we're continuing to stream, we're continuing to drive more content out there and more marketing for games out there that are building in this space and doing it the right way. We have a great editorial team that does interviews, kind of boots on the ground sort of stuff to help build that narrative and help people understand what Off the Grid's next 12 months looks like or what Lowland is going to be doing. And so, yeah, that's our next, call it 6 to 12 months.
And because Asia is big on mobile, so is that like what your goal for this trip, for YGG Play Summit as well, to connect with more people and share more what OpenSea is doing?
Yeah, our goal, I mean, Icy and Yellow Panther said it really well earlier today. I mean, my goal has really always been about relationships. This whole space thrives on that. For people out there that, think that this is only online, I would totally disagree with that narrative. This is all about people coming together and fostering a culture and a breeding ground for what we want crypto, Web3 gaming to become. And so my ultimate goal when I come to these things is not necessarily to say, hey, here's our new product, check it out. It's, hey, I'm OpenSea, we're here, let me know how I can help you and serve you, because that's ultimately what our platform's about. It's about trying to uplift and drive the right sort of user behaviors. And obviously, if they're curious about what we're doing, I'm happy to explain further. But for me, what delights me more than anything is seeing a Parallel or an Off the Grid or Axie or Ronin winning. And if they're winning, we're ultimately winning. And it's all about rising tide lifts all boats. And for me, the most powerful piece of that is this relationship building that we do here and abroad.
Would you say that, I guess we have to wrap up soon, but would you say that part of OpenSea being able to thrive throughout the year was because you continuously reflect on the cultural needs of like different markets or like different stages of users wanting different things, wanting to be able to do things with OpenSea?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's very hard to build in this space and have a very core thesis on what you're trying to build and why, because there is so much noise. You go on the timeline and someone says, well, Parallels UI is terrible. And then literally the next minute you see someone else say, Parallels UI is amazing, I love it, it's the best thing ever. And you
constantly chasing.
And so you do have to be careful with the community narrative here to like how much you lean into one individual and how they influence maybe your entire community. But I do think there's areas of opportunity for us to do more product testing, more driving through Asia, Europe, LATAM, places like that have very different cultural needs and user needs than what we have in the States or otherwise. And so I do think it's important. We do a lot of product testing as is. We have tons of people across the world that test our products, that are engaged and give us feedback. And I think that's a big piece of it.
All right, that's like, I need to get more into OpenSea with trading and exploring. Actually, you mentioned the part what makes OpenSea so wholesome was because you can do anything now, like discovery, content, trading.
It's a one-stop shop.
Yes,
like
a one-stop shop.
That is kind of our narrative. It's a one-stop shop. We want it to become that for people. We want people to understand it, see it, visualize it. It's the whole thesis on why we believe this stuff will work long term, is to tell people, hey, go one place and it'll solve basically any questions that you have.
All right, well, I guess we have to wrap up now, but thank you so much for sharing more on what you guys are doing, and so excited to learn more and also be sharing you on after this too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Pichapen and Oliver. In 2024, Off the Grid won Game of the Year, Best Action Game, Best Shooter, and Best Multiplayer Game at the Game Awards. This year, they